Have you ever felt it? That flash of white-hot anger over something trivial, followed by a cold, crushing wave of shame. A voice inside you whispers, "A good person wouldn't feel this way. You're out of control. You should be ashamed." What if that shame was misplaced? What if that anger was not a character flaw, but a loyal guard dog finally barking after being silenced and ignored for years? Everything you have been taught about anger as a negative emotion is a lie. A lie designed to keep you agreeable, manageable, and easy to please. In reality, your anger is one of the most honest, life-affirming, and sacred energies you possess. It is the part of you that loves yourself enough to say, "No more." In our last conversation, we met the tender, vulnerable child within who is terrified of being abandoned. A natural question arises. Who protects this child? It is not your niceness. It is not your agreeableness. The fierce, loving, and unwavering protector of that inner child is your anger. And today, we are going to reintroduce them. We are going to unwrap the sacred gift you were taught to fear.
Let's begin by honoring your fear. You have every reason to be afraid of anger. Perhaps you grew up in a home where anger was a destructive, terrifying force, where it was unpredictable, violent, and used to control. You witnessed its power to shatter connection and create pain. And so you vowed to yourself, "I will never be like that." Or perhaps when you, as a small child, expressed your own healthy, natural anger, you were punished for it. You were sent to your room, you were shamed. You were told you were a bad girl. You learned very early that your anger was not only unacceptable, it was dangerous. It threatened the very love and connection you needed to survive. So you took your anger, your sacred fire, and you exiled it to the deepest, darkest corner of your shadow. You divorced yourself from it. You did this to survive. It was a brilliant, necessary strategy. But here is the great tragedy. When you exile a part of yourself, it does not disappear. It simply goes into the unconscious, where it gathers power in the dark. An emotion that is not felt, not honored, and not expressed does not dissolve. It ferments. It builds pressure. And the life-affirming, clean energy of anger, when suppressed for a lifetime, mutates into something else. It becomes rage. This is the most critical distinction we must make today. The distinction between destructive rage and sacred anger. Rage is the unconscious explosive eruption of suppressed emotion. It is the beach ball held underwater for years, finally shooting to the surface with uncontrollable force. It is disproportionate. It is often misdirected. And it is almost always destructive both to yourself and to others. The shame you feel after you snap is a legitimate response to the destructive nature of rage. Rage is what happens when anger is not listened to. Anger, on the other hand, is a clean, conscious, and vital emotion. It is not an explosion. It is a signal, a messenger. It is a pure, life force energy that rises up in you for a very specific and very sacred reason. It is the part of you that loves yourself. It is the loyal guardian of your soul, your boundaries, and your integrity. Let's watch Chloe, our nurse. A hospital administrator implements a new policy that results in nurses having less time with each patient. Chloe sees the impact. She sees patient care suffering. She sees her colleagues burning out. and she feels a slow, hot, rising fire within her. This is anger. It is a clean signal. It is her soul's response to a perceived injustice. It is her inner protector saying, "This is not right. This is harmful. Something must be done." But Chloe's good girl persona has a strict rule. Anger is bad. So she suppresses it. She swallows the fire. Day after day, week after week, she pushes it down. The pressure builds. The anger ferments. It mixes with her exhaustion, her feeling of powerlessness, her resentment. One evening, she comes home, and her partner asks a simple, innocent question. "What's for dinner?" And she erupts. She unleashes a storm of fury, criticism, and tears that seems to come out of nowhere. Her partner's stunned. She is stunned. This is not anger. This is rage. It is the chaotic, destructive release of all the suppressed energy from the hospital, misdirected at an innocent target. And afterwards, the shame floods in, reinforcing her original belief, "See, anger is dangerous. I am a monster." Do you see the tragic loop? We fear anger, so we suppress it. The suppressed anger turns into rage. The rage erupts, causing damage. And the damage reinforces our original fear of anger. And so we suppress it even more. The work of this video, the work of your healing, is to break this loop. Our goal is not to become a rageful person. Our goal is to build a relationship with our clean, conscious anger, so that we never have to be consumed by rage again. The goal is to learn to listen to the signal so we can prevent the explosion. How do we do that? We must learn its language. We must understand that when the sacred fire of anger rises, it is not a sign that you are a bad person. It is a sign that a loyal messenger has just arrived at your door. And it is carrying one vital, life-saving message. It is time to open the door and read the mail.
So what are these sacred messages? When your clean, conscious anger rises, it is not a chaotic force. It is an exquisitely precise diagnostic tool. It is a messenger from your deepest self, from your shadow, delivering one of three crucial pieces of intelligence. Let's learn to read them. The first and most fundamental message of anger is this: a boundary has been crossed. Anger is the guardian of your energetic and psychological space. It is your soul's perimeter alarm system. The first flicker of irritation, the slight tightening in your chest, is the first signal that someone or something is encroaching upon your time, your values, or your well-being. It is a quiet, internal stop sign. It is the part of you that says, "This far and no further." Let's imagine Chloe has a day off, her only day off this week. She has planned to spend it in silence, reading and resting, refilling her desperately empty psychic well. Her sister calls in the middle of a minor, self-created drama and talks for an hour, ignoring Chloe's subtle hints that she needs to go. As Chloe hangs up the phone, she doesn't feel rage. She feels a low-grade, simmering annoyance, a feeling of being drained and resentful. That feeling is anger, and its message is crystal clear. It is saying, a boundary was just crossed. Your sacred time for rest was not protected. Your need for silence was not honored. It is not telling her that her sister is a bad person. It is simply providing a factual report from the front lines of her own soul. A report that her conscious mind governed by the good sister persona, is trained to ignore. This leads directly to the second sacred message of anger. Sometimes, the message is not just a report, it is a call to action. And that message is, a no needs to be spoken. Anger is the biological fuel for a healthy, powerful no. If you have ever felt powerless to say no, if the word gets stuck in your throat, it is because you have disconnected yourself from the very energy source that gives that word its strength. A no that comes from a place of fear or apology is weak. It is negotiable. A no that is backed by the clean, firm energy of your integrated anger is a solid wall. It is an act of power and of profound self-respect. Let's imagine Chloe again, a few weeks later. Her sister calls once again on her day off, ready to unload her latest drama. The old Chloe would have sighed and listened and felt that familiar resentment build. But the new Chloe, the one who is learning to listen to her body, feels that first flicker of annoyance. She recognizes it now. It is not a flaw. It is a signal. It is anger arriving with its sacred message. The message is, a boundary is about to be crossed. And also, a no needs to be spoken. So Chloe takes a breath. She feels the warm, solid energy of that anger in her chest, and she uses it. She says calmly and without apology, I love you, and it sounds like you're having a hard time, but today is my only day to rest, and I cannot talk right now. Can we schedule a call for tomorrow evening? Her heart is pounding. This is new territory. But she has not exploded. She has not been unkind. She has simply used the sacred energy of her anger to honor her own sacred need for rest. She has used the fire not to burn a bridge, but to forge a boundary. This brings us to the third and often most expansive message of anger. Anger is not just personal. It is transpersonal. It connects you to your deepest values, to your moral compass. And its third message is, an injustice is occurring. This is the fire that rises in you when you witness something that violates your core sense of what is right. It is the anger you feel when you see someone being bullied, when you read about a systemic injustice, when you witness the environment being destroyed. This is not a petty, egoic anger. This is the sacred rage of the soul. It is the energy that has fueled every great movement for civil rights, for social justice, for the protection of the vulnerable. It is the part of you that is connected to the whole. When Chloe sees the new hospital policy causing her patients to receive substandard care, the fire she feels is this third kind of anger. It is not about her. It is about her deep, core value of compassionate care. It is about a profound injustice being done to the people she is sworn to protect. The old Chloe would have suppressed this fire, feeling powerless. But the new Chloe, the one who understands anger as a gift, recognizes it as sacred fuel. She may not be able to change the policy overnight, but she can use that energy to speak up in a meeting, to document the problems, to organize with other nurses, to transform her feeling of powerless rage into a focused, deliberate, and powerful agent for change. A boundary has been crossed. A no needs to be spoken. An injustice is occurring. This is the sacred trinity of anger's wisdom. It is not a monster to be feared. It is your guardian, your fuel, and your guide. It is the fiercest, most loyal, and most loving protector you will ever have.
So, how do we move from this intellectual understanding to a lived, embodied practice? How do we break the old, painful cycle and begin to practice this new, sacred alchemy? Let's first look at the cycle that has kept you trapped. The unhealthy cycle of suppressed anger looks like this. First, there is a trigger. A boundary is crossed. Second, there is suppression. The good person persona shoves the anger down. Third, this suppressed energy builds, turning into resentment. Fourth, the pressure becomes too much, and there is an explosion of rage. And fifth, this explosion is followed by intense shame and guilt, which reinforces the original belief that anger is bad, leading you right back to more suppression. Trigger, suppress, resent, explode, shame, repeat. This is the hamster wheel of the people pleaser. It is a cycle that guarantees burnout. But there is another way. The healthy cycle, the cycle of integrated anger, looks like this. First, there is a trigger. Second, there is acknowledgement, a conscious recognition of the feeling. Third, there is decoding the message, asking what the anger is trying to tell you. Fourth, there is conscious action, setting the boundary, speaking the truth. And fifth, there is release. The energy has been used cleanly and can now dissipate. Trigger, acknowledge, decode, act, release. This is the path of the conscious warrior, the path of wholeness. To help us walk this new path, we can use a simple metaphor. Think of your anger as fire. For your entire life, you have been treating this fire as an enemy. You have tried to smother it, to stamp it out. But when you suppress a fire, you are not extinguishing it. You are creating the conditions for a wildfire. You are allowing dry kindling and resentful underbrush to accumulate so that when a single spark eventually hits it, the entire forest goes up in flames. That is the destructive nature of rage. The work of integration is not to extinguish the fire. It is to become a skilled firekeeper. A firekeeper knows that fire is not evil. It is a powerful, life-giving force. It can provide warmth. It can cook your food. It can light your way in the dark. And it can forge the strongest steel. The firekeeper does not try to stamp out the fire. She builds a safe, sacred circle of stones around it. She learns to tend to it, to feed it when it is low, to contain it when it is high. She honors its power. She harnesses its energy. She transforms it from a threat into an ally. So how do we begin to build this sacred circle of stones? How do we practice being a firekeeper? We will not begin by confronting anyone. We will not begin by setting a big dramatic boundary. That is too much, too soon. We begin with a safe internal practice. A practice of turning towards the fire with curiosity, not fear. I call this practice name, feel, ask. The next time you feel that flicker of anger arise, it could be a small annoyance, a flash of irritation, a wave of frustration. I invite you to try these 3 steps. The first step is to name it. Silently, to yourself. Just as a neutral observer, you name the feeling. Ah, this is anger. That's it. This simple act is profoundly powerful.
It moves the experience from an unconscious reactive state into a conscious observed state. You are no longer possessed by the anger. You are the one who is witnessing the anger. You have already created a small, sacred space between you and the fire. The second step is to feel it. This is the opposite of suppression. Instead of pushing it down, I invite you to get curious about it as a physical sensation. Close your eyes for just a moment. Where is this fire living in your body? Is it a heat in your chest? A tightness in your throat? A buzzing energy in your hands? Is it hot or cold? Is it sharp or dull? There is no right answer. Your only job is to be a compassionate scientist, mapping the somatic landscape of this energy. You are not judging it. You are not trying to get rid of it. You are simply feeling it. You are allowing it to be without needing it to change. And now, the third and most alchemical step. Ask. With your awareness resting on that physical sensation, you are going to ask the anger a simple, compassionate question. You are not asking your mind. You are asking the energy itself. You can ask, "What are you trying to protect me from right now?" Or, "What is your sacred message for me?" And then you listen. You listen for the first words, images, or feelings that arise in the silence. Trust the first thing that comes. Perhaps your anger, the tightness in your chest, will answer, "I am trying to protect you from being taken for granted." Perhaps the fire in your gut will answer, "My message is that your time is valuable and it is being wasted." Perhaps the energy in your hands will answer, "I am here to help you build a boundary." The answer is the wisdom you have been suppressing. It is the voice of your loyal, fiery protector. Name, feel, ask. This is how you begin to build the circle of stones. This is how you become a firekeeper. You are learning to tend to your sacred fire so that it can warm you and guide you and forge the unshakable integrity of your own beautiful soul.
Today, we have stood before a fire we were taught to fear, and we have chosen not to extinguish it, but to understand it. We have performed a radical act of shadow work by redefining one of our most exiled emotions. We have learned that the destructive, chaotic force of rage is the symptom of a lifetime of suppressed anger, and that clean, conscious anger is not a flaw. It is a gift, a sacred, life-affirming energy. It is the loyal guardian of your inner child. We have learned to decode its language, to listen for its three sacred messages. A boundary has been crossed. A no needs to be spoken. An injustice is occurring. This is not the language of a monster. It is the language of a fierce and loving protector. And we have our first practice in becoming a firekeeper. The gentle, internal art of name, feel, ask. A way to build a relationship with this powerful ally. A way to turn towards the fire with curiosity, not fear. To listen to its wisdom without being consumed by its heat. To harness its energy, not for destruction, but for the sacred work of forging boundaries and creating change. As the poet David Whyte writes, anger is the deepest form of compassion for another, for the world, for the self, for a life, for the body, for a family, and for all our ideals, all vulnerable, and all, possibly, about to be hurt. Your anger
is the part of you that cares so deeply it is willing to burn. This is not a journey to become an angry person. It is a journey to become a whole person. And a whole person is not afraid of their own fire. They have learned to tend to it, to honor it, to use it as a sacred fuel for a life of integrity, authenticity, and profound self-love. You have a right to your anger. It is your strength. It is your protector. It is your guide. We have learned to listen to the roar of our inner guardian, the part that says no. But sometimes the shadow does not roar. Sometimes it whispers. It speaks not of what we need to protect ourselves from, but of what our soul secretly, desperately longs for. It speaks in the quiet, shameful, and profoundly revealing language of another forbidden emotion, the language of envy. What is that painful pang trying to tell you? What is the secret map hidden within your jealousy? That is the mystery we will decode in our next conversation. For this week, your invitation is to simply become a firekeeper, to practice the art of listening to your own sacred fire just once, to commit to this new relationship with your own power. I invite you to affirm your right to this sacred emotion, to join a community of others who are also reclaiming their exiled protectors. Share this powerful healing declaration in the comments below. My anger is my protector. By sharing it, you honor its role, and you give others permission to honor theirs. Thank you for your courage. The fire is now in your hands.